light is on the water with the sailboat and then like the bigger boats and stuff. Yeah, the Coast Guard. Yeah.
I think that's Coast Guard boats, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just like a little bit of that content.
Ferries in Geneva ran on solar panels on top of the boat with batteries.
There you go.
Weird. That's cool.
Raise those arms, you can hear me, everybody. Yes. So officially, welcome to Casa Bacardi, the world's largest premium rum distillery. My name is Adriana. You might call me Adri. My friends do like to call me the crazy bird lady, whichever is fine, really. I will let you know to a few safe rules of margin begins. First, please keep those arms, legs, limbs inside this trolley when we are in movement at all times. Second, please no smoking or vaping during our entire experience. There is only one area allowed, that's behind the pavilion, this white building behind us. And third, were there any type of emergency to occur, our meeting point will be, once again, the pavilion. Now, before we dive into our rum tasting class, we must learn a little bit of history about our company. You see, our legacy starts in February 4th of 1862 in Santiago de Cuba, where our founder, Don Facundo Bacardi Maso, revolutionized the rum distillation process forever. But we did not stay in Cuba. We actually moved to Mexico around the year 1931. But as the company kept expanding, we moved yet again, this time to Puerto Rico, around the year 1936. But no, not here in Cataño. We were first actually established in the old San Juan area. We decided to move to Cataño around the year 1958. And this area here, it does consist of 137 acres, which is approximately 103 American football fields. And if you were wondering if we are still a family-owned company, absolutely. Currently, generations of the 6th, 7th, and 8th are still well active within our company. Well, today, friends, we are learning how exactly rum is made. And as I've taken this corner here to my left, you will see a series of 5 panels to your right-hand side depicting the same process. That first panel to your right, we have our sugarcane. We get our molasses from there. Second panel will be our holding tanks for either of our 2 bases. Third panel, those barrels aging in the warehouse. The fourth one is the bottle. And then, of course, the very last one is your cocktail ready for you to enjoy. Well, on that same side, the right-hand side, you see that building with some very tall windows. It is known as our gallery or La Galeria. And it is a multi-purpose building for activities such as weddings, ceremonies, meetings, you name it, it will happen in that building over there. Now to your left-hand side, well, it is our employee cafeteria. We most importantly have our beautiful badge logo. And that is the current logo, but you may find different versions of it across the facility. For example, the one right above the gallery doors. Now, why exactly do we even have a fruit badge to represent our company? Well, the person that created that logo wasn't even our founder. He had an amazing wife by the name of Doña Amalia Lucia Victoria Murillo. And she was actually the one that created this logo. Together, when they purchased their first distillery in Santiago de Cuba, they did notice a colony of fruit bats living among the rafters as they were attracted by the sweet smell of the molasses. Now, Doña Amalia, she was a lover of arts, and she remembered that bats had a significance in both Spanish, Cuban, and Taino folklore. Basically, the bat signified good health, family unity, and good fortune, which are great attributes to also be associated with the company. Additionally, at the time, not exactly everyone knew how to read or write, so having a badge to resemble a company would make it accessible for everyone. You didn't know how to read the word Bacardi? No problem at all. Just point at the bottle and say, give me rum of the badge, or dame el ron de murciélago, and you will always be served Bacardi rum. And yes, everybody, this is still true nowadays. You can try it for yourself. Simply go to a bar and ask for rum of the batch. But let's go ahead and dive into the rum production part of our facility. I like to divide this into two sections. You got the front of the house, that's this left side over here. In order to make Bacardi rum, we need three simple ingredients. Those are water, yeast, and molasses. Those three ingredients later develop two different bases, and you continue to develop them to your right-hand side, which is the back of the house. Now we are heading to the back of the house first, so I like to say that we are reverse engineering our rum, if you will. Now this very first building in the corner, the beige one to your left-hand side, it is known as our blending facility, or our Jose Agomes building. It was named this way after our former global master blender, Jose Agomes. Was developed approximately 40 years, but he did retire around 4 years ago. So now our current global master blender is Troy Alaquiza, but he is located in Jacksonville, Florida. So here, our small group of blenders actually have Bacardi's first Puerto Rican woman blender. And her name is Luz Maria Irizar. But what exactly is the job of these blenders? Well, all of our rum expressions will be a blend of those two different bases, just in different proportions. So it is the job of the master blenders to figure all that out. Every day from 7 a.m. to 3 in the afternoon, one of these blenders will come collect a sample on a small little tricycle from these stainless steel cylinders to your left. So these ones that read tanque de almacenamiento, they're basically holding tanks for either of those two bases after they've been distilled and filtered. Now in front of us, we do have a bunch of tubes going from left to right. You follow the tubes and you follow the rum. This connects from the blending facility that we just saw to this other warehouse to your right-hand side called Paco's Warehouse. Now Paco's Warehouse, it is the line of production, but we also like to call it in Spanish, vaciado y llenado, or emptying and filling. You may think of it like a little drive-through, if you will, with three separate windows. Now normally, when we have more movement happening in this area, we would have an orange tractor making a stop here on your first window to your right-hand side. The tractor, it will have around 27 barrels on its flatbed, so that is 9 per pallet. He has 3 of those. One of those pallets will go inside the warehouse. There we have hydraulic tubes inserted into the tops of the barrels, and they will begin to extract that rum. That rum will be heading into the holding tanks that we just saw, or additional holding tanks behind this warehouse. Now once you remove the rum from these barrels, we can still use them maybe 2 or 4 times, but that is only true if the integrity of the barrel is intact. So we make sure that these barrels are okay, and there's like a little window to your right. Now where there's something wrong with the barrel, like maybe it's leaking or whatever, we remove it from the production line, and we actually recycle these same wood barrels, either to make wood tables, wood furniture, wood ships, and even drums as well. Now this very last window, if the first one was the emptying side, this of course will be the filling side. So this time the hydraulic tubes inserted into the tops of the barrels, they will begin to pour fresh rum that is ready to be aged. Because every day our workers will receive an order of 180 barrels that they must move around daily. So you guys have an idea, you are looking at around 135,000 liters of Bacardi rum that are being made here every single day.
Yeah.
To your right-hand side, you will begin to notice the additional holding tanks that I mentioned. You might only see 3, but we actually have around 5 of those. Now, I would like everyone to notice the one in the center though, because it is covered with a black substance, and that is known as alcohol fungus, previously known as whiskey fungus. But don't worry, it is definitely not detrimental to either us or our environment. It's simply a sign of a healthy distillery. This is going to occur in the air when the alcohol and the yeast come in contact. It does like to stick to surfaces such as this tank, and as we're getting closer to our fermentation tanks, the palm trees over there will be much darker as well.
Interesting.
But what type of wood are we using for our barrels? White American oak is the name of the game, or its scientific name, Quercus alba. Now, why such a specific type of wood though? Well, our founder just chose it amongst other options because this wood is very sturdy, yet porous, and that is perfect for the rum absorption. That way you have the wood and the rum intermingle, and bring out all these flavors that we know and love. So you have that rum that is ready to be aged. It will be placed in warehouses like this one to your right hand side, and it does have the door open, so we can definitely take a peek, and you will see barrels as far as the eye can see.
Yeah, they're working about the
Now
trees
it
being
is
black
one of
too.
our smallest warehouse though, so it will be holding between 28 to 30,000 barrels on average. But one of our larger warehouses might be holding
Yeah,
double
that
of
last
that,
year
so
was time,
around
wasn't it?
60,000
Yeah,
barrels.
all of
Now, since we
15
have
minutes
around
to get myself
14
enough
of these
alcohol.
warehouses,
That's
that's
technically a
around
lifetime
half
supply.
a million barrels that are being aged here constantly. Now, if you notice though, the warehouse, it doesn't have any windows, right? Aside from that single entry point, and it definitely doesn't have AC. That is because we practice something that is called the tropical aging. Basically, we take advantage of this very hot and humid weather, and with it, we will age our rum faster. So you guys have an idea? Here in Catania, it might take around 8 years to age a rum, but perhaps that same rum in Scotland, it can take around 23 years. Now, of course, with a faster aging process, we do have a higher angel share, and angel share is basically the romantic term for the rum that gets evaporated in that same process. Now, I did want also everyone to notice the position of these barrels. Notice that they are placed upright and not horizontally. Back then, you could store the rum horizontally, and with whiskey as well to air it out, but nowadays we don't do that anymore. We simply store them upright, and this is called undisturbed aging. This is better for the rum because one, it's touching all parts of the barrel and not just half of it, and two, when the time comes to extract that rum from that barrel, you don't have to sit it upright and have that sediment get mixed with the rum. So that's why we do it this way, and that is called undisturbed aging. Now, a fun fact about our company though, here we only bottle one of our rums, and that is our house exclusive, the Special Reserve. The rest of these rum blends, we actually send them over to Jacksonville, Florida. Over there, they will dilute it with demineralized water for a 40%, and only then are they able to bottle and ship it for the rest of the world. Now, to your right-hand side, at the end of the street over here, you will see a metal cylinder truck. We call those a Dana tow tank, and that is what we actually use to transport our rum blends. It goes on that truck, it reaches a dock, then on a boat off to Jacksonville, Florida. Well, I did mention that we use white American oak, but what I forgot to mention is that we don't actually use fresh barrels, everybody, as the flavor is too strong. We need to use previously used barrels, or matured barrels, just like our founder did back in the day. So at the moment, we are buying our barrels from either a whiskey or a bourbon company. So companies like Jack Daniels, Sandy, and sometimes even Jim Beam, to name a few. And you can see all these barrels to your right-hand side and that small corner right over there. Now, perhaps you may want to think of that area as a cooperage, but it is not one, as we are not constructing these barrels. We are just receiving them. So we actually do like to call that area over there the jacuzzi. Now, why do we call it this way though? Well, when we get these barrels, we must leave them soaking in a wash of water for around 24 hours. This in turn is to remove the outside, which will be the liquid whiskey or bourbon stuck in the pores of the wood, and this is also to make sure that they are not leaking and they're ready for our rum to be put in its place. Now, if that was behind the house, now I can show you the front of the house because we do have a better view of our column distilleries. To your right-hand side, way in the back over there, you will notice 5 distillation columns, and that is where we make our light rum base. Now, since the light rum base has been distilled 5 times, this will give us a very high amount of alcohol. So it's super well at 94.75. But not 95, because then it could be considered vodka, so we simply leave it at 94.75 to be very specific. Now, the purpose of our light rum base will be to give us that neutrality and the high alcohol content, of course. So then how do you balance that out? Well, that is the job of our second rum base, the heavy rum base. And that one will be made again to your right-hand side, but this time that single column still behind that very tall building. Now, our heavy rum base has only been distilled once each time instead of 5, so it does amount for a lower amount of alcohol, but that is perfectly fine because the purpose of this other base will instead be to give us flavors and aromas. But before we even have these 2 separate bases, do you remember those 3 ingredients needed to make Bacardi rum? Water, yeast, and molasses. Well, that yeast, it will be stored in this Art Deco building to your right-hand side. We do like to call this building La Catedral del Rum, or the Cathedral of Rum. It was given this name by our first elected governor, Luis Muñoz Marin, and it is here in the 4th floor of this building where those tiny windows are open, locked behind 3 doors, that we actually store our yeast. Now, only 11 people in the whole entire world have access to it. So then why is this yeast so important? Well, our founder did find it in some sugarcanes in Cuba around the year 1860s, and he chose this particular yeast amongst all the others because he noticed that it had a high flavor profile and it was fast fermenting. Thus, it was the perfect candidate for his rum creation. And yes, that does mean that we have been using the same single strain yeast since around the 1860s. This is definitely to ensure consistency and quality amongst our rums. Well, to your right-hand side, you will begin to spot 2 round tanks, but we actually have around 21 of them. These are our fermentation tanks, and it is here where that same process will occur. That is to say, you will have that yeast consuming the sugar molecules from the molasses that will release as CO2, creates fermentation, and it will give us something known as distiller's beer. Well, the distiller's beer, it will have around 8 to 12% alcohol, but it is a beer that is simply not for drinking. It's for it to be distilled, and that's how we get our 2 separate bases. Now, the fermentation process, it can take anywhere between 24 hours to around 48 hours, and the capacity of those same tanks will be around 45,000 gallons. Now, if you notice in front of these fermentation tanks, though, check out the palm trees. They're much darker here than in other parts of our facility. And again, that is that alcohol fungus propagating, since we do have that yeast and alcohol well right behind them. Now, in front of my trolley to my left side, you see those plants that kind of look like bamboo. That is not bamboo, friends. That's actually sugarcane, or its scientific name is rum, officina rum. And it's actually a waste product from the sugar refinement. And to end up on this spot, sticky substance known as molasses. And that will be the part of the sugarcane that we use to create our rum. Now, lastly, to your right-hand side, at the end of this alley over here, you will see 3 big blue tanks. And that over there is where we store our molasses. We have 3 of those with a total capacity of 7.5 million gallons of molasses. But our yeast only consumes 1 tank a day, well, that's equivalent to 2.5 million gallons of molasses. You can imagine it is so much molasses that we simply do not source it from here in Puerto Rico since we don't make enough of it. We buy our molasses from other countries, namely Nicaragua, Guatemala, and the Dominican Republic as well. Our tool will continue in this building to your right-hand side, and back in the day it used to be an aging warehouse, but nowadays it is our visitor center. We are not returning to this trolley though, not now or at the end of the tour, so please take all of your belongings with you. You may wait for me in front of this building, and I'll be with you very shortly.
That was cool because like I kind of knew the basis of like rum distillery,
Right.
but like get like kind of.
Rum.
As it turns out that they use that as a distraction.
Yeah,
So they
right.
just sprinkle it along. And they, like,
That's
get
why
the
some of
exact
them are
strain.
clean and some of them are flat.
Yeah. Am I the only one who wants to try that distiller's beer now?
I'm curious too. I am really curious.
Like it's probably just gonna be overly bitter, but you know.
right? You know, it's like cooking. You want to taste every step of the way.
Yeah, raw eggs began.
That raw cookie dough.
Exactly. It's the thrill of the chance of someone else that makes it taste that much better.
You know, that's what those 11 people are really doing behind the shop for it.
Ooh, that feels good. I mean, as long as I get there, that's all I'm concerned. I mean, it's,
That would be fun.
Alright everybody, now welcome to our rum tasting. If you need to use the bathroom, do it now. Once I start talking, I'm not making a pause, but that's okay. That's what this bathroom break is for, okay? Once you're gonna take a right in the middle back, it's in a small corner. You will see it.
I can just hear my mother. Go if you don't even think you have to.
Wants water, I would recommend water to kind of refresh your palate. It's gonna be in the corner of this room, okay? Short bathroom and water break. We will start when we're all together, okay?
Go ahead, Shergo.
I'm gonna take one of my phone too, so we can.
Have it more readily accessible.
Like they want you to black out really fast.
This phone has like.
It even includes an engraving over here at the bottom of the medallion. Pretty fast process as well. It might take maybe 5 to 10 minutes, okay? If you want to do it yourself instead of buying it already pre-made, it obviously has a different cost. This time it is $200, okay? And again, these numbers.
Do you mind somebody like me? Thank you.
Me and him have our hats, but we didn't bring it with us.
Yeah, it's alright.
Sorry. I did a comment for you.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Thank you guys.
My camera doesn't get nearly as hot in 1080 as it does 4K.